Welcome to Deeper Space, a weekly podcast that takes you behind the scenes and deeper down the rabbit hole of Gaia's original series, Deep Space. Together, we uncover the mysteries of the secret space program and share the facts which tell the stories not yet told in the mainstream. This podcast takes a conversation behind the scenes to meet with guests, producers, and passionate advocates from the show, Deep Space. Join the conversation and be a part of the weekly episodes found only on Gaia.com. Gaia.com.
Thanks for tuning in to our post-show exploration of deep space. I'm here with the founder of Forbidden Knowledge, Billy Carson, who has been studying anomalies on our planet and other planets in our solar system. Thanks for joining us, Billy.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if you can hear, but we are actually playing your song that you made called Deep Space. I'm not sure if you made this for the show.
Yes.
So did you record this? I'm just picturing this music video in a wind tunnel. What were you picturing?
Well, we're working on a video right now. We're doing a lot of spaced out 3D graphics, traveling through the solar system and to other planets, and trying to just get really like spaced out. So we're really excited about it. So far, it's coming along very well, and it's probably going to be released on Thursday. The song itself will be released on Thursday or Friday of this week, so we're excited about it.
That's amazing. I had no idea that you were a rap star. That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm a producer. I'm a writer, so I write and I produce, and I have an artist that actually does the rapping, and he occasionally gives me a cameo.
Look at you, Easy. All right. So let's just jump into the questions for Deep Space. You are in several episodes, but this one is specifically about episode 1. And my first question for you would basically be, the sites that are in this show are primarily Chaco Canyon and Pumapunku, but you've covered ancient sites all over the world. And from our interview, if you can remember, Chaco Canyon and Pumapunku, you seem to draw some correlations that these places might be ancient space stations. And I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, there's so many other places in the world that could be possibly ancient space stations. Why did you pick these two? Maybe you could just elaborate on your research and how, like, this is just an example of other evidence throughout the world.
Sure. Well, the amazing thing about Chaco Canyon is that it has a matching anomaly on the planet Mars. So if you go to the Mars Global Surveyor images and you pull out image MOC, that's M as in Mary, O as in Oscar, C as in Charles, 2-319, which was released on August 8th, 2002, you will see an identical copy, virtually identical, of what you see at Chaco Canyon on Mars. The circular structure with the what appears to be could have housed domes, or or you can see that there actually were buildings there that are now eroded due to weather. But the actual overall shape, size, and dimensions match Earth's Chaco Canyon almost perfectly.
That's amazing.
That's just one of them. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing stuff.
And those are some things that we couldn't really get into the show because we were just trying to kind of start the series off. But and you can find these images on your site, correct? You have a site that you've picked all these in, and is it forbiddenknowledge.com?
Well, you can go to Forbidden Knowledge, and through there you can get to some of my other anomaly pages. I also am the founder or co-founder with the United Family of Anomaly Hunters. And we actually have a Facebook page called UFAH, and we also have UFAH.space. And through that site, you can get to a lot of the anomalies that we have. And we have it's like an umbrella for about 13 different anomaly hunter groups that we have now, all out there hunting and scavenging through millions of NASA images and European Space Agency images on a daily basis. And we've got about 50,000 anomalies now that we've collected.
That is amazing. And I think, like, if you're like me, we're both kind of producers, we try to connect the dots. And I think Chaco Canyon's a good starting point because, as you said, it links us to Mars. And that gets us to the bigger question. why are they the same? Is it a progenitor race? Is it ancient people that have created a space station? Do they have both civilizations on each planet?
Right.
That's a lot of questions for me to ask you, but what is your opinion on the similarities between the site on Mars and Chaco Canyon?
Well, my opinion between the site on Mars and Chaco Canyon is that according to the ancient Sumerian tablets, which thankfully they left behind over 1 million of these tablets carved and etched in stone so that no man can really just edit and change what's being said there. And anyone can look up these cuneiform writings for themselves, and thankfully to the UCLA CDLI library there that's online, and you can decipher all the stones for yourself. But according to the Sumerian text, there was a race of Anunnaki on this planet doing strip mining, as well as their lower class race on Mars called the Igigi. And the Igigi were strip mining Mars, and they were also using Mars as a way station to actually transport some of the resources back to their home planet when the planet came into perigee. So there was actually a concurrent civilization running on Mars and Earth at the same exact time.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, you have the same exact architects. You have the same exact structures. One of the things that Enlil said when he came to Earth to his sister was that he was going to lay down the foundation of construction for all time. So, this is where you see the Sumerians 6,000 years ago having street grids and having plumbing and all these other types of advanced concepts for civilization that nobody had up until that point. So this is why you see the similarities. It's because I personally believe that it's the same exact people on both planets.
And why do you think, obviously in this episode, we come to some possible conclusions with NASA, but in your opinion, why would you think NASA would be interested in places like Chaco Canyon?
Well, NASA is interested in these places because this goes all the way back to the 1930s. So we got to go way back in time here, because if you go back to the 1930s, you find out that the Nazis were interested in finding or tracking down an alien race that was still living on this planet somewhere underneath the ground, underground type of a base or underground city. They went as far as going to Tibetan monks to get this information. They were directed. Finally, they did discover these people. These were the Aryans that were spoken about by Hitler. Mm-hmm. These were the blonde-haired, blue-eyed people that actually gave them information on how to create some of this advanced technology. And one of the main reasons behind the war, behind what Hitler was doing, was because these beings told him to reclaim the land so that they can come back out and take their rightful place, and he would be given, kingship over a certain part of the earth. And that's where this whole Aryan thing came from. So this is going back a very long time. Coming up into the future era where we look at NASA, well, you got to remember Project Paperclip back then took in over 1,000 Nazi scientists and agents, high-ranking level agents, and brought them into the United States and put them in high-level positions within NASA, first and foremost, with Wernher von Braun and his entire rocket crew. Wernher von Braun openly stated that he had help from other beings. He openly stated that a lot of this technology came from another race, and he wasn't talking about the human race. He said we had help.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, so that's where a lot of this comes from. So this is who's running NASA, the same people that were on a quest for this ancient technology from back then till the current day. The agenda hasn't changed.
Yeah, and those are just letting the audience know that we are covering some of that stuff in the next couple episodes, which is very exciting. So the current NASA, this program suggests that there's a split. There's the public NASA and there's the private NASA, and you're kind of saying there's this part of NASA that has this other goal. And do you think that NASA right now is a front, and that it leads these other people that are very curious, like SpaceX and Elon Musk, to try to further the quest to outer space?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it that NASA is a public front. They've discovered a way to, I hate to use this term, but use humans as cattle, whereby what I mean by that is there's a lot of funding that's needed for some of these covert projects and opening up space for some of these private corporations, because they give out a lot of grant money and a lot of funding to these private industries as well. Mm-hmm. And they've also now branched out into some private industries. So what you've got to have a willing public that's willing to continue to go along with the show. So every now and then what they'll do is they'll give you a little caveat, say, hey, we discovered this or we discovered that. We need another $100 billion to continue on. Meanwhile, while they showed this very poorly advanced technology that we should be 10,000 years ahead of, there's a program behind the scenes, I believe. Solar Warden, it really does exist. And they are really, in my opinion, traveling this entire solar. I think they've already left the solar system by now and have explored the outer edges of the Oort cloud. But that's neither here or there. The fact of the matter is private corps are doing things in space. The NASA is doing things in space with private military shuttles that have left. One shuttle left for 425 days and then came back, and it was a top-secret mission. They claim it was in orbit around the planet. For all we know, it could have taken supplies to Mars. We have no idea where that and they're launching them all the time. So there's definitely a secret space program. I don't think they really try to cover it up. They really tell you that, hey, we're doing this behind the scenes and there's nothing you can do about it. But here, look at this this nuclear-powered drone that we're going to send to the atmosphere of Mercury and crash it into the surface. It's like a diversion tactic.
Yeah, it's also because they really don't think people will really think they're doing anything odd or that there really is a secret space program.
Yeah.
I mean, they give us so much evidence all the time in front of our face, and even at Chaco Canyon at one point, half of that was you couldn't even go there because it was actually regulated by NASA, and they had it all blocked off. And apparently there were some caverns and stuff that they were looking into, and I think that's why we kind of picked this location, because it's here in America and it's not in Peru. That's exotic. It's right here, and they're looking for stuff right here because they know that our ancestors are a progenitor race of sorts, if this is what you believe, had the knowledge to go, and they're looking for those people. Is that what you believe?
I definitely believe that. And Chaco Canyon, the areas where NASA has mapped off, is well known to have special magnetic anomalies. So they're researching these magnetic anomalies, which could have been used for transportation, could have been used for recharging wireless power sources, as well as maybe the matching anomaly on Mars. It possibly could have been Chaco Canyon in that particular location called the Inca City on Mars. They could have been using these magnetic ley lines as a way of sending communications back and forth between interplanetary communication. So there's a lot of different things there, and the reason why NASA is there is definitely because they believe that there's something there that they believe actually happened and is there that they can actually utilize. They wouldn't spend the time and energy to do that. They've done the same thing in the Grand Canyon as well. They've roped off a part of the Grand Canyon, and you can't get down there and get in there. I landed in the Grand Canyon last year in a helicopter, and I was only able to go on part of the land. The rest of the land I couldn't get to because it was already taken over by the government and NASA.
Yeah. And of course, again, people are like, oh, yeah, no big deal. But, those are ancient places. Those are sacred places to the Native Americans that live there. This is kind of a side tangent, but it's important to some of our members. I don't know if you remember talking about the mercury at Teotihuacan.
Yes.
But what findings point to the use of mercury in ancient technologies? I know that you talked a lot about it on our show. I think they're just really interested on some more information, a scientific background of mercury used.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm actually researching the use of mercury myself because one of the companies that I actually own I'm a co-founder of the First Class Space Agency, which is actually a privately owned space agency in America, in South Florida here in Fort Lauderdale. And we're not a launch capability type of facility. We're actually researching alternative propulsion systems and zero-point energy devices. So one of the things that we research is mercury, and mercury actually is a ferrofluid, which means it's actually a liquid metal, and we're researching ferrofluid vortex engines. That is where you take the actual mercury and you put it into a vortex. You can bring it up to 50,000 RPM and electrify it, and then you begin to get these very incredible anti-gravity properties.
Wow.
And this is the United States military already has a couple of vessels that use this type of technology. There's one called the TR-3B. It's actually a triangular type of a flying craft. It has a circular plasma field accelerator ring called a magnetic field disruptor, and it's what glows when they see this thing fly over. People think it's a UFO. It's really actually one of ours. It's an ARV, alien reproduction vehicle, using alien technology. They kind of reverse engineered it, but it's got a rotatable crew compartment, and it's like far ahead of any imaginable technology that you could think of. And what you do is you pressurize the mercury to 250 atmospheres, and then you set a temperature at 150 degrees Kelvin. And when you accelerate to 50,000 RPM in a magnetic vortex so that it doesn't touch the edges, you create like a superconductive plasma, and with that you get anti-gravity.
It's amazing. I hope that answers people's questions on Mercury. I have just one side thing to say about that. When I was researching Teotihuacan several years ago, they had discovered the Mercury then, and I had sent a photographer from Mexico City to take pictures of it for another show I was working on, and he went missing, and nobody is still able to find him. So I still think that there's definitely something going on there, and it came out as a news story, like, oh, they found some mercury. Ancient people must have used it. I just think
one more quick thing I wanted to mention about the
ahead.
mercury, and this is very important. Okay, the Anunnaki god named Thoth, who was also had many other names: Hermes, Trismegistus, Ningzida. He was also Quetzalcoatl, and many people think, and I do as well, that he actually was the Jesus of 2,000 years ago. But he's been around for a very, very long time, and he left it behind these emerald tablets over 36,000 years ago, which I've studied extensively. And he uses these regeneration chambers to renew his life. He goes down. He's been down 100 times for 100 years each time. He's been in that chamber for 100,000 years over the course of many eons, regenerating his body, coming back again. But the reason why I bring him up is because one of his names is also Mercury. And the planet Mercury was designated to him. It was his other planet that he actually controlled and ran, as well as his name being Mercury on this planet in the Greek pantheon. And it would be ironic that he helped establish the Mayan culture as well as the Teotihuacan complex, and you find Mercury in the complex. It's an incredible link there, I think.
Wow, that is very cool. Just this is a bit of a side tangent. I think we could go on. We could, what I would like to do, and of course, this is only if I'm allowed to. Hopefully, we have a second season of Deep Space, and we can get even deeper. Meaning, we can have a whole episode on Mercury with Billy Carson.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be the greatest thing.
But until that point, I have to keep it kind of short. But I do have one really big question, and I think in these stories, and of course, again, if we have 30 minutes to kind of touch on these concepts, we really want people to know that by drawing these links and connecting these dots, that we are giving people the knowledge to go out and think of different concepts. And I just wanted your thoughts on, by people, being able to gather the knowledge that they've gathered on your site, or the stuff that you've been able to tell us about NASA or even Chaco Canyon. How do you think that actually helps people become stronger and become actually fearless when it comes to knowing what's going on around them?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important to gain as much knowledge as possible from Gaia, from my sites, from any site you can. Does it mean that all the information that's being put out there is 100% accurate? That's impossible. But it's up to the individual to discern the information and discard whatever insults their soul. And what I tell people, if you want to raise your consciousness, raise your level of knowing and understanding to another dimension, the first thing you have to do is you have to understand the past. This is why I mostly teach ancient wisdom and ancient knowledge, because he who does not know the past is destined to fail in the future.
This is correct.
And the past is one of the most important things. Where human beings on this planet are stuck in a cycle of gaining and acquiring knowledge and rising up, and then falling back down again. And I think that one of the most important things we have to do is educate people, because once you educate somebody, once you give them the information and the knowledge, and they can research it for themselves, which is what we do, we give enough, I think, key points and key words that they can do a Google search, they can go get some books, they can find out for themselves based on their own research that what we're saying is pretty much right on point. And now this person has ammunition. They have knowledge. Now, something that they would have done in the future has been changed. We've actually changed the path of the future. We've actually altered the future by going into the past. And when you don't do that, what happens is the human culture will fall into the same exact cycle of rising and then destruction over and over again. But their destiny is not required. You can actually change fate, and how you change that is by making a conscious decision to change it. I can say to you right now that I'm going to go walk and stand over in the corner in my room that I'm in right now, and then I can make a decision to get up and do it, and I can say I just fulfilled my own prophecy. Or I could just stay in my chair and I can never walk over to that corner. Mm-hmm. It's all about conscious thought and action put behind it. So once we provide the information from deep space, we provide the information from our other research pages and sites that they can get access to, and the person who's a true student will wake up to this information. They'll raise their consciousness, and now they'll be able to go out and tell other people, hey, this is what I found, this is what I've been researching, this is what I discovered. And it'll catch on very slowly, but it will definitely catch on, and you'll see what's starting to happen now planet-wide. There's a shift in consciousness that has come to planet Earth, and it's on the rise, and it's not going to stop. And I think this may be the one time where we actually have elevated ourselves, or going to elevate ourselves to a level to where, in the future, where 2 or 3 generations, 4 generations from now, this will be a totally unrecognizable planet. And that's the goal. That's my mission on the planet, is to help get human beings back to that point, help them realize their true potential and stop falling into these cyclical cycles of destruction.
Amazing. And that's kind of what we're trying to do too, even though sometimes the information seems scary, or, we're trying to put people in a bubble of fear. It's not at all. That's all the time we have. Again, there's just not enough time. Maybe next season.
No,
I just wanted everybody to know that Billy is actually one of our Gaia ambassadors. So make sure you check out his site and his stuff and check him out on our page. Thanks again, Billy. Continue the conversation with us next week on Deeper Space. We'll look at the secrets of our solar system and answer even more of your questions.